At 43, Britney Spears finally broke her silence, and what she revealed shook the entire world of pop music. After years of silence, confusion, and public breakdowns, the woman once known as America's pop princess looked straight into the camera and said words no one ever thought they'd hear from her. For 13 years, I wasn't allowed to live my own life. It wasn't a performance. It wasn't a publicity stunt. It was a confession, raw, trembling, and brutally honest. What followed wasn't just a story about fame or music. It was a story about control, survival, and reclaiming freedom in front of millions who had once watched her fall apart. What you're about to hear will forever change the way the world sees Britney Spears. In the late 1990s, America was dancing to one name, Britney Spears. From a small-town girl in Louisiana to a teenage sensation who sold out arenas, Britney wasn't just a pop star. She was the face of an entire generation. Her debut hit, Baby One More Time, didn't just top the charts, it defined the era. The plaid skirt, the innocent smile, the perfect choreography, she became a cultural phenomenon overnight. By 21, Britney was the highest-paid female performer on the planet. Cameras followed her every move, tabloids fought over her photos, and fans worshipped her like royalty. But behind the glitter and global fame, there was something the cameras didn't capture. A young woman trapped inside an image too perfect to be human. Every misstep, every tear, every late-night drive was magnified, sold, and judged. Then came the marriages, the divorces, the motherhood, and the relentless pressure to remain flawless under the brightest, cruelest spotlight in the world. Somewhere between the fame and the flashing lights, the real Britney began to disappear. And that disappearance would mark the beginning of one of the most shocking chapters in pop culture history. It began quietly, a few tabloid photos, a few whispers about exhaustion. Then suddenly, the whole world watched her unravel. In 2007, Britney Spears, the most photographed woman in the world, walked into a Los Angeles salon, grabbed the clippers, and shaved her head. The images spread instantly, flashing across every TV screen and every magazine cover. To most people, it looked like a meltdown. To Britney, it was a scream for help that nobody truly heard. She was chased by paparazzi like prey. Every breakdown became entertainment. Every tear became a headline. She lost custody of her children, was mocked on late-night television, and turned into a punchline for the very people who once called her America's sweetheart. Behind the scenes, her father, Jamie Spears, stepped in, claiming to save her. The courts agreed, and in 2008, Britney's life was placed under a conservatorship, a legal arrangement meant for the elderly or mentally unfit. Overnight, one of the most powerful women in pop became a legal minor in her own life. For 13 years, she couldn't drive her own car, choose her own lawyer, spend her own money, or decide who could visit her. Every show, every tour, every move was managed by the people who said they were protecting her. Fans began to notice something wasn't right. During her Las Vegas residency, Britney would sometimes perform with empty eyes, her voice distant. And then, in 2019, she suddenly canceled everything, citing her father's health. Rumors exploded. Hashtags like Free Britney started trending. Was she being silenced, controlled, exploited? Publicly, Jamie Spears insisted his daughter was safe and loved. Privately, Britney's silence became louder than any song she had ever sung. For years, she obeyed. She smiled. She performed. Until one day, she didn't. And when she finally spoke, the world would realize that what looked like protection was actually a prison. No one expected what happened next. In June 2021, after more than a decade of silence, Britney Spears took the stand in a Los Angeles courtroom and, for the first time, spoke in her own voice. It wasn't a rehearsed statement. It wasn't the polished tone of a pop icon. It was a trembling, furious, human voice. I've been in shock. I'm traumatized. I just want my life back. For 23 minutes, Britney revealed everything the world had only guessed. She said she'd been forced to take medications she didn't want. She said her team controlled every aspect of her body and her choices, even denying her the right to remove an IUD so she could have another child. The courtroom fell silent. The mask of protection shattered. What millions had dismissed as rumors suddenly became horrifyingly real. A former dancer spoke out, saying Britney was often monitored 24/7, her phone tapped, her friendships filtered. Another insider described a life run like a corporation, where Britney worked endlessly while the people around her profited. Behind the glitter, the tours, and the perfect Instagram post was a woman begging for agency over her own soul. Then came her book, The Woman in Me. Page after page, she recounted the years of fear, manipulation, and loss of identity. But the most haunting confession wasn't about fame, money, or power. It was about how the world, her fans, her country, watched it happen and stayed quiet. They loved the show, she wrote, but they didn't see the girl who was disappearing behind the music. And that's when the world realized this wasn't just the story of a fallen star. It was the story of a woman reclaiming her name, piece by fragile piece. When Britney's testimony became public, the internet exploded. Clips of her trembling voice spread across TikTok and Twitter, igniting a firestorm of outrage and guilt. The very same media that once mocked her breakdowns now called her a survivor. Late-night hosts who had joked about her mental health began apologizing. The narrative had finally flipped. The Free Britney movement, once dismissed as a fringe conspiracy, was suddenly vindicated. Fans who had spent years holding signs outside courthouses, "Let Britney speak," became the heroes of a cultural awakening. They weren't crazy, they were right all along. But the reactions weren't all pure sympathy. Some critics questioned whether Britney, after so many years of control, could truly live freely again. Others worried that social media fame would only throw her back into a different kind of spotlight, one she could never fully escape. Meanwhile, Britney began reclaiming her voice on Instagram. Her captions were chaotic, poetic, and brutally honest. To some, they sounded unstable. To others, they were the raw diary of a woman rediscovering herself after years of silence. "If you've been quiet long enough," she wrote, "eventually your soul screams to be heard." Hollywood itself started to shift. Conversations about mental health, women's autonomy, and celebrity exploitation became mainstream. Documentaries like Framing Britney Spears forced the world to confront its complicity, how society built her up just to tear her down. Still, the scars remained. Britney's family fractured, her trust in the system shattered. She had won her freedom legally, but emotionally. The war had just begun. Today, she's no longer the flawless pop idol the world once demanded. She's something far more powerful, a symbol of survival, of what it costs to be famous in a world that confuses pain for entertainment. And yet, beneath every defiant post, every dance in her living room, there's still a trace of the girl who once sang, "I'm not a girl, not yet a woman." Only now, she finally decides what those words mean. After everything, Britney Spears stands not on a stage, but in her own home, barefoot, twirling under soft light, smiling at no one and everyone at once. There are no backup dancers, no costume changes, no choreographers telling her what to do. Just a woman, a camera, and a sense of fragile peace. She's free. But freedom, after being caged for so long, is a language she's still learning to speak. The world may never fully understand what those 13 years stole